It definitely feels like autumn, and where do we even begin? It looks like things might be a little more stable in this area. What is up, everybody? This is Jay, aka Multimedia Jay. Let's just make sure the sound's not messed up again. It looks like things might be a little more stable in this area. All right, that sounds a lot more normal than what we had last time. So the thing is, this is a Blue Yeti Nano, and there's Logitech G software that integrates with it. Literally every single time the Logitech G software updates, it tries to turn Blue Voice and all the fancy radio processing back on in this mic. So I get surprised when I find out that I sounded absurdly overcompressed because Blue Voice does some effects, and then OBS does some effects on top of that. And so the net effect is that I sound like a radio gone wrong. I just want OBS to do all that work. So I set my preset on Logitech, the Logitech G software. I actually made a what is it, Yeti Nano, what is it, Blue Voice. I made a Blue Voice preset that is now my default preset that has absolutely nothing turned on. So if I forget to check the program next go round and it defaults to on again, it's gonna not do anything anyways. The things you gotta do in the world of technology, seriously. Yeah, so welcome to the Late Night Nerd Lounge. It's not even late and it's not even night, but it's late night somewhere. 6:43 at the Geekhouse. There's definitely still some neighborhood noise going around, and I think there will definitely be some I already heard motorcycles once. Motorcycles as well as cars with their mufflers sawed off. Everybody who joyrides around in anything is out there having a blast because summer has pretty much just ended. With the hurricane spinning in the Atlantic, it's sucking away all the moisture, and it definitely feels like October now. And so I'm observing that classic New England tradition of freezing your ass off as long as you can before you finally cave and turn on the heat for the first time. It wouldn't be New England without this annual ritual of, okay, it's too cool, it's cool enough to not run the AC, but it's getting cold out. How much can you freeze your ass off before you decide to start running the heat for the first time for the season? All right, so a couple of things. Oh, we did have a spike. Did that show up? Did that even glitch anything? Yeah, here we go already with the spikes. Walmart has Motorola CM1000 modems in stock. I can just go grab. Here we go. There we go. Yeah. Service tech couldn't see anything wrong on his meters. We're down to $4,000, $6,000, etc. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. In light of all the garbage that's been going on with this unreliable internet service, I found out about the fancier 85 drop frames. Here we go. Let the collection begin. So the problem is still not fixed. So the service tech, the problem with this ISP is they keep sending this same service tech over and over again who talks a lot but just doesn't want to listen. He's your classic technology person who is too full of himself and thinks he knows everything. Something I'm incredibly familiar with because I've been working with these socially not very good tech people and trying to communicate with them, between them and managers and stuff like that, for the longest time. So I'm very, very familiar with tech's ongoing problem with navel gazing. So the fun part is the fancy software I run in the router is recording all of these hiccups in the connection. So I'm going to go dig through the logs after the stream, and I'm going to send off timestamps to the ISP for them to check against their network equipment, because this guy's like, maybe it's something down the street. Well, here's how it went, right? Last go round, he's like, he tries to blame my modem and accuse my modem of flaking out after only 2 years. So like, you usually get like 4 to 7 years out of a cable modem, but he's trying to blame my modem. Well, the thing is, I'm a tech guy, so I have a whole bunch of ways of testing literally everything he's trying to finger point. Yeah, well, I've been to clients' houses before where I've been to clients' houses before where I've set up a modem. And I've been to clients' houses before where I set up a modem and and the power supply made all the difference. Really? Look, I have 12 volt, more than 2 amp power supplies, so I can test out for a flaking out power block very, very quickly. I've never had that happen on a small device before, although I understand third-party power supplies from Amazon have this problem all the time. There's some cheapo components and stuff. It sends dirty power and runs hot, so it's garbage. So, but I can always just buy an oscilloscope. I can pick up an oscilloscope, a solid-state oscilloscope, about $90 for an oscilloscope multimeter combo device, and check things that way. Check the wavelength, see how dirty the power is coming out of the power supply if I really wanted to. But thing is, the guy he doesn't get it. We had severe thunderstorms come through a couple of weeks ago. The connection has been less stable ever since. The biggest thing I hate is the speculation. The biggest thing I hate is the speculation. Well, it could be this. Well, it could be that. I don't bring in technicians to have them tell me that it could be this or it could be that. Bring the tools, use your knowledge, figure out what the hell is wrong. I can speculate. I don't need somebody who does this stuff every single day coming in and being dumbfounded that I'm able to test and and prove this guy wrong on some things. It's like, and furthermore, don't give me an explanation, just fix the freaking problem. If there's a piece of network equipment, like a router, for example, that's changing circuits between here and the head end or whatnot, or between here and wherever the ISP comes out to the internet, which is probably somewhere in Massachusetts or something like that, if there's something going on that equipment, then solve it with, don't try to blame my modem for this. Plus, I can spend $150 right now, go to Walmart, get a get a Netgear CM1000. They have those in stock, off the shelf purchasing, the whole 9 yards. Hook that sucker up, and we'll see if this continues and rule that out that way. But it's just, enough is enough with this. The sad part is that to rule out monolith being the problem, I actually hooked up one of the Delosaurus computers, as you can see over there in the project area, set up OBS and had it stream my Be Right Back screen with jazz music in a private stream on YouTube, which is one of the wonderful things about YouTube streaming, is that you can stream private streams to test stuff and see how it works. As opposed to Twitch, where, well, when you go live, so have like a secret alt channel that nobody can find in order to test stuff, or else you're SOL on that stuff. But this guy comes over here and he tries to blame my modem, and he even says, oh, it could be the power supply. Yeah, it could be the power supply indeed. Yeah, it could be the power supply. So I bring in a 12 volt, 2.5 amp power supply that can handle more current from my rapid battery charger over here, my 15-minute battery charger over here, which has a matching polarity and everything, and it still does it. See, the thing is, I am familiar with electronics troubleshooting. Look, I'm familiar with electronics troubleshooting. I'm familiar with the process of elimination and swapping out components and things along those lines. If you want to try and blame my equipment for something, I'm going to take a spaghetti cable and go from the computer straight to the modem and see if this continues to happen. It's like, well, it's the modem. Okay, maybe it's something downstream, but how do we pinpoint that? How do we figure that out? I feel like this was not a problem for 2 years since I first signed up for this service, and the only reason I have it is because of the upload bandwidth to stream with. If I can't stream, there's no point in me keeping this service when Frontier is desperately selling outdated VDSL for $38 a month. I don't know if that's a regular price nowadays with the outdated equipment in this area, or if that's some kind of special new customer rate. I could call and check and just see what's going on there. But the big issue is I did put in for a provisioning speed change to drop down to their lowest tier. No sense spending money on stuff that's not working as well as it used to. But if we're all, according to all my SNRs, what are you measuring there? And then we actually get a lag spike while we're testing this. The fun part is trying to troubleshoot all of this crap. Trying to troubleshoot all this crap has introduced me to the finer points of Fresh Tomato firmware, which I'm running on my main router. So I can compare up to 24 hours back without saving to the NVRAM. I can compare data that it'll save for like 24 hours look at when the lag spikes happen, see if there was a device stepping on things' toes. Do I have to turn on QoS? All kinds of networky stuff like that. It also, YouTube fixed something on their end that was causing people's streams to lag out and crash a couple of days ago. So I don't know. It's just, I said to the CSRs, don't send this guy again. He tried to blame my equipment. Don't send this guy again. He tried to blame my equipment, and I proved him wrong in several ways since the last time he visited. Well, there he is. They do have more than one trouble tech, so they do have more than one trouble tech. But hey, you know, the guy eventually had to admit that it could be something from somewhere between here and somewhere, downstream from here, or something on that end. So there you go. So after all that talking back and forth, we're back to what I was thinking in the first place, that there was some kind of storm damage in the area, and I'm the only person. I don't know if there's anybody trying to stream games, and if they stream games, do they even keep an eye on the lag, or like, oh, it's the internet, it's going to lag anyways. So they get lag from time to time, and they just don't notice that their service is getting worse. Yeah, well, when I'm sending $6,000 on a $20,000 connection, and it's dipping down to $3,000, $2,000, $1,000, like 2000s DSL speed, and then it lags down there for the better part of a minute before finally coming back. That's a problem. I'm sorry. It's like, that's a problem. And it could be a piece of equipment getting ready to fail. It could be a squirrel crawling into something. It is autumn. Who knows? It could be weather damage. We certainly have had some severe thunderstorms for the past few weeks of the summer and stuff. He even tried to blame the power conditioning, that I have everything on a UPS. Hey, my router and my main modem are on a my modem and my main router, are on a UPS specifically for power isolation and power conditioning reasons. So it's the thing is, we got 85 drop frames grand total from one lag spike. I've had that before when streaming games, and I can just check the stats as well. Was it due to network conditions or encoding issues? All 85 frames were dropped because of networking conditions. There's 26 frames. Oh, it doesn't. There's 26 frames that were missed due to rendering lag, so it keeps those separate. But the 85 frames displayed in the corner is all network conditions. Okay, good. So things are running better, but they're obviously not 100%. We'll see how many more lag spikes we get. I'm very, very tempted to go out and get a modem and then have the MAC address added to the account, and then we'll see if this happens again. But the thing is, we went from very regular lag spikes all the time to like one every hour or so or something like that. At some point, this gets down into like just internet crap, because I can tell you 85 drop frames right now. 85 drop frames. I used to sit and watch like, some percentage of drop frames show up due to network stuff with my game streams back in 2020 when the modem was brand new. So there's only so much of this that is attributable to the modem. So this guy's like, your modem. I'm like, look, when the modem was brand new, I had these problems as well. If it's a once in a while thing that doesn't interrupt the show, that like drops the frame rate for about 5 seconds or something, it is what it is. But when you have something like what was happening during the rainstorm the other day, where I was going down into 2000s DSL territory and stuff like that, and I was going down into 2000s DSL territory, and the stream was lagging down to like 500 kilobits per second over and over and over again, to the point where the whole thing just lagged out completely and I couldn't keep any of my points going. That's when you know that there's a problem. Let me just get a few things going in case let's see here. Just click a few things. So we're catching up on things here. I've also made progress in a YouTube video, and I'm in a unique position. Let's see here. Okay, that works. I have a unique position when it comes to the current YouTube video that I'm working on. I need to finish the video because I need to finish the video after I do this. The next part of the YouTube video will fundamentally affect my streaming setup. So this is gonna be the last stream before I finish the YouTube video. I might come back and I might do like a game stream or something if I really want to. I have one more night off, but got to do some rearranging and getting stuff together to get rid of like recycling and stuff like that around here as well. Finish everything up over here at the Geekhouse and make progress on things with the retro setup, with what's going on with the modern setup and everything. Probably not spend a lot of money on anything, but just do all of that. So here's the issue, though. I have one of those infamous, you know how guys always have that collection of cables that they don't know. You know how, guys have that collection of cables that they think they'll need someday? Some of my cables in that collection are getting old enough that they're going to start, the plastic in the Bakelite's going to start yellowing or drying out or something like that. So I'm at the point where I want to get rid of those cables I might need someday, because you can still buy retro cables. Yeah, nostalgia cycles have pretty much made it so that you're not holding on to the last ever S-video cable in the world. There's some dusty remote corner of Amazon that you can always get a new cable for if you need new setup, so you don't need the clutter and stuff. Unless it's something proprietary like an AV cable for a Super Nintendo, you really don't need to keep extras of it around anymore. So I'm actually looking to cut back on the electronic stuff that I have sitting around that I never use, because it's getting to the point where it's getting old. The stuff's starting to age to the point where I might not want to use it again anyways. So what a waste. I mean, I also found out that there's a couple of other components outside of traditional or a couple other devices outside of traditional electronics that can be recycled at my town's garage for the recycling program. So fried box fans, like the one that shorted out during the summer and blew its fuse, that can be recycled. I ran it for a couple of years, then it finally conked out on me. So it's good. Just bring it on out and just recycle it there. Nice. Get that out of there. And we'll declutter by looking at redundant stuff that we have and asking ourselves, do we really still need this? So anyways, the rest of the stuff that's pertaining to hardware is something we can talk about some other time, because the video is going to address those things. You can tell, though, I just fired everything up because the lava lamp's not doing anything yet. Yep, the lava lamp's back. It's back to the cooler part of the year, so it's not that big of an issue if I have stuff that's running hot. So I don't know if it's even going to get going while we stream, though. I got to decide whether I want to go try a Netgear modem from Walmart or something to get it. But I mean, if it's just one thing, like only 85 frames, if it's just one lag spike per stream or something like that, then that's just network conditions. It's still better than it was during that rainstorm. And that's why we want to catch up on a lot of the remaining loose ends from what's been going on. So all right, ready? Title of the stream: Twitch streamers and the importance of now what? What hasn't happened on Twitch this week? We got something else going on? Yeah, we just had another lag spike, and now we're up to 177 drop frames. So no ISP. The problem is not fixed. What's my CPU at? 8%? You tried to blame my CPU. Like, literally, this guy's trying to blame everything. He tried to blame my CPU until I showed him the window, which shows the difference between the CPU. Which shows the difference between the CPU and the stuff that's happening because of that. But yeah, 177 drop frames now, so 0.5%. 177 due to network conditions. So no, the problem isn't fixed. I'm probably going to try another modem, and maybe we'll do a game stream to cook test it or something like that. But it's he literally tried to blame everything until I countered with showing him that I actually know what I'm talking about. Some of these folks like to take advantage of stuff people don't know. They'd probably be good working in an Apple store like that. Yeah. One of my classic gripes about Apple products is that Apple makes its money off of taking advantage of what its customers don't know about technology. So you fast forward to today, and there are all kinds of Macs and stuff like that with soldered on components and other throwaway dreck that's out there these days. It's pathetic. And keep your drinks handy. We're obviously going to need them. It'd be cool if it'd just be expensive. Go pick up a modem and then see this still happen, and then tell them, it's not my modem, stop crying about it, all that other lovely stuff. Either way. Title of the stream: Twitch streamers and the importance of now what? What hasn't happened on Twitch this week? You have all the scandals, you have all the dreck that's going on, you have just the most off-putting garbage that I've ever seen on Twitch. It makes me want to have zilch to do with the platform, because I'm just convinced that Twitch is useless for anything other than a magnet for toxic behavior. whether it's whether it's gamers assuming that gamer culture means treat women like crap and make fun of girl gamers, even though it's the 2020s and that kind of stuff, which is counterproductive. When I was growing up, gamers were guys that couldn't get girlfriends. So because the girlfriends didn't like that they played video games. I actually know a lady my age who doesn't want to date somebody who still doesn't want to date guys that play video games. She hates video games. She doesn't want to date guys that play video games. So like can't pull her head out of the 80s and 90s. I mean, never mind the fact that if you, for example, go out with a truck driver, if a girl marries if a girl goes out with a truck driver, the truck driver might have been trained using a simulator, which is basically a giant video game. It's like, I don't know. But yeah, so whether it's that or whether it's the stuff Twitch does on the disciplinary side, or whether it's the integration with hard left politics, or whether it's the elevation and platforming of people that are, let's face it, far too acutely emotional to have any platform whatsoever. They shouldn't be on the internet. Twitch has been hands down the wart of my online experience for the last 2 years or so since I started regularly watching it. It's gotten so disgusting with the never-ending nonsense these past few weeks that I don't even watch it anymore, even if it's streamers I like. There's a couple of streamers, we mentioned this last time. If you're a Twitch streamer at this point, something's wrong with you. It may not be a character flaw. It may just be that you can't think up any real reason to make YouTube videos or something like that, so you can't do anything but stream. Or it may be that you're afraid of starting over, or you're afraid of YouTube, or whatever it is. But at this point, I mean, just look, Twitch is what Twitch is. It's a small platform, 140 million monthly active users. It basically looks big because it's the biggest game streaming platform out there. Assuming, well, actually, no, not assuming. That's what the quarterlies measure. The competition's numbers are limited to game streaming. So I'm actually interested in building a data set in Power Query to get some more hard numbers on Twitch and just how small it really is. And how it basically, Twitch tries to pass itself off as being big because it has iron grip on game streaming with the number of hours watched. There's plenty of game streamer, and they have a terrible ratio as well. So the terrible audience ratio compared to its competitors isn't necessarily a bad thing when it comes to from the viewer's perspective, because you have a crap ton of streamers to choose from. You're probably always going to find somebody that you can, watch if you want to watch someone play video games online. So you're going to have that option available, and you have that stuff going on. Yeah, you have that stuff at your disposal, but versus over on YouTube where the categories are smaller, the UI is more gimped, you're depending on algorithms a lot more just to find a stream to watch in the first place, and fundamentally the philosophy towards live streaming is different on YouTube and Facebook than it is on Twitch. Twitch is a perfect go-to destination. It's about streaming, but I can say it's probably far better for the viewer than any of the content creators trying to be streamers on Twitch, especially with the recent discussions about the sub split and all the other stuff, which of course represents a few loose ends that we need to basically take care of today as we monitor this bandwidth and see how fixed this problem actually is. So we had all that drama going on, all the nonsense. Then Twitch couldn't be be one-upped by their own user base, so there was some other crap coming from Twitch as an organization. And then on Friday, we learned of the resignation of the SVP of Global Creators, Constance Knight. Let me just take care of that straight off the bat. Let's bring up the Dexerto article here. Link up our browser mode and keep an eye on the band. There we go. That's a small dip. That's nothing. That's more in line with what I've been seeing since the weather cleared up. Twitch's SVP Global Creators, straight off of Dexerto here. Twitch's SVP of Global Creators leaves company amid creator. Why is it going off to the left like that? Work on your zoomability, Dexerto. Twitch SVP of Global Creators leaves company amid creator pay split controversy. There's a paywalled version of this too over on Bloomberg and some other sites as well. Constance Knight, though, already has experience at YouTube and Instagram. So as much as the whole thing, maybe the issues she has with the president of Twitch, maybe that's part of, oh, look, another lag spike. What are we up to? 177. yet some more lag spikes. This problem isn't fixed. So I could bypass the switch, and I could bypass the switch that the consoles hook up to and have this thing go straight into the wall and then go out from there. But the thing is, it's using the same power line link as the other system, which did pretty well for that. But anyways, Constance Knight leaves Twitch amid pay split controversy. So maybe it's a clash between SVP and the president, stuff like that. But the thing is, she already has a background at several other platforms, and Twitch is the smallest. She already has a background at several other platforms, and Twitch is the smallest. So Twitch, if you've been at Instagram before, which is substantially bigger than Twitch, and then YouTube, 2.5 billion concurrents, might even be too big for someone like that. Then you go to Twitch with its 180 million MAUs and whatnot. That's an exponentially smaller platform. But it's under Amazon. People think that just because Twitch is under Amazon, that it's the same as YouTube being under Google. No, it is not. Very, very, very different companies calling the shots here. Furthermore, the value, what is the value of the platforms versus their parent companies? With YouTube, that is Google's answer to video. Google actually shut down Google Video, their old service, their old YouTube competitor service, after they acquired YouTube. So YouTube's playing the role that Google Video used to play with Google. Amazon sort of has Twitch as a video front end for what they do, kind of, but Amazon has their own video services like Prime Video, and they also now that they own the assets to Twitch, they can basically own that IP and license it out through Amazon Web Services. We've shown that link more than a few times. The relationship between Twitch and the company that it is under, Amazon, is incredibly different than the relationship that YouTube has to Google. And this eventually comes through in the corporate governance, as well as, is it important to keep the platform around versus shut down Twitch, find some other way to tie, or something like that, find some other way to tie things into Amazon Prime if Twitch can't get its act together, and, move forward from there and sit on that technology that Amazon Web Services is now licensing out since the Twitch acquisition. You know what's interesting in all of this? I remember back when YouTube was trying to buy Twitch. I actually probably still have the radio style commentary out there. It might be worth it to come back after like a jazz intermission and just do a reaction to that just for fun after we talk about this. But we're getting into the weeds a little too much here. Let's go back to full cam and talk about that title. So, now what refers to the most important two words that you can ask yourself as anybody, whether you're working in corporate America or a content creator or a small business owner or whatever. The world is full of people who essentially grind to a halt the minute something goes wrong. But the time you spend complaining about something that went wrong is time that you are not spending fixing the problem. So professional victims tend to be they tend to lose just too much time and focus complaining about stuff rather than doing stuff. So I was hoping tonight's discussion could be useful for Twitch streamers, because with all this crap that's going on this week, now what? And I really think if you're a Twitch streamer right now, you need to look at these changes. You need to look at the changes to exclusivity, which let you platform hop. You can't multi-stream, but you can platform hop like the Twitch affiliates can. And then ask yourself, now what? And start working on a transition plan. I think it was... Who is that? The guy that edits for Harris Heller. What's that guy's name again? I don't read very many of his tweets. Or maybe it was somebody else that said it. Somebody out in the Twitter sphere talking about content creation in the multimedia meta was talking about how you should finish up your contract as a Twitch partner, whatever's left on it, but use the more loosey-goosey platform hoppy stuff to establish a presence on YouTube. Maybe do some different streams and stuff over on YouTube or something like that. Give people a reason to go to your YouTube page and start trying to make it so that's not a hard switch if you decide to not renew your contract as a Twitch partner, especially in light of what's going on with the revenue split news and what the president has said and all this other stuff. But it's just, one of those things where if you sit around complaining all the time and watching drama videos about YouTube, Twitch doesn't care about creators, then you're wasting time that you could be spending working on an exit strategy, so to speak. So that's really the overarching theme for all the Twitch streamers out there is if you're in this rotten situation and you don't like what's going on at this platform, at this company, acknowledge it, maybe blow off some steam somewhere, but don't let it grind you to a halt. You always got to ask yourself, now what? And focus on the things that you actually can control. There's some things you can't control, but the things you can, don't get sabotaged on that front because of what a bunch of delusional leadership figures at Twitch are talking about. All right, let's get back to this article with Constance Knight. Constance Knight already has a background at YouTube and Instagram. Twitch could very well easily, especially with how they're tripping over their own feet lately, Twitch could very easily just have been the perfect company to make into a pit stop. My own little joke here is that with Facebook starting to get things going, to get a little bit more omni-media, the sort of thing I've been hoping they do for a long time, with Facebook possibly working on a way to throw its weight around a bit more. Don't know about this metaverse stuff, but Facebook has the tools to really challenge the hell out of YouTube. If Facebook gets it together, that's going to be something very, very interesting. So if Facebook gets it together, it's going to be the evil empire of online media. Other than video, which isn't the video component of Facebook isn't as refined as the video component on YouTube. But everything else, the whole package, so to speak, is far more refined on Facebook than it is on YouTube. So videos and text updates, pictures and text updates plus albums, way more polished on Facebook than they are on YouTube. YouTube has the community tab for that, which the requirements keep dropping lower and lower for features like the community tab. And I think that's because if Facebook gets their act together, YouTube's in trouble. YouTube will become the second best platform if Facebook gets its ass in gear. Fortunately, there's enough distractions with Zuck and the metaverse that might not be happening anytime soon, but it's the doomsday situation that Google has to be prepared for. So, since we know there's a giant red versus blue thing in the works, depending on when Facebook gets it together, Constance Knight I can very easily imagine her making Twitch into a career pit stop, or the sort of situation where she always had some kind of contingency plan to make Twitch like a career pit stop versus the bigger platforms that she's been involved with. So, off to my joke is that if I ever hear about Constance Knight at Facebook, I'm going to crack up. So I'm not making too big of a deal out of this. This is just a disagreement with the leadership. Some people might think that this is some way tied into everything. The only way it's tied into everything is chronologically. This was probably the plan, that if this president was too focused on money or something like that, that Constance would exit stage left. Doesn't Constance still have a YouTube channel despite working at Twitch all this time? Let me just check that. Because I think there's YouTube. Let's see. Etc. etc. Senior Vice President. Twitch hires former YouTube and Instagram. That's Tipster. Stuff like that. YouTube channel. There we go. Yep. Oh, yeah. She does have a channel. Oh, that's a different Constance Knight. Never mind. It's like the John Smith effect. Here's a video from here's the little something from Variety after she got hired over at Twitch hires ex-YouTube executive Constance Knight as vice president of creators. So yeah, this is a career move. I'm not going to get too wrapped up in all of this. I'm not going to get too wrapped up in the departure of the SVP of global creators, especially if there's some kind of beef with the president and the president's too focused on money. Well, I got news for you. This president, if he doesn't get unseated, he's going to find out the hard way how these businesses really work. I mean, when you have folks like Fwiz sending a graphical rebuke on Twitter as somebody who used to run YouTube gaming, it's that really This guy, darn keyboard's making fart noises again because everything dried out. What are we down to for humidity? 64%. It's getting humid in here. Well, that's because I have all the windows closed. It's like, what, 60 out or something, and the heat from the computers is still heating up the house. We'll fire everything up when that's no longer enough. Or I could run folding at home on a couple of systems. I would run that, do some decentralized CPU processing for medical research or something. I guess folding at home's no longer for oh no, it was SETI at home that was trying to find extraterrestrial life through distributed CPU power. Getting my use your computer for the greater good services mixed up. Letter from the Twitch president Dan Clancy on subscription revenue shares. This is the fish that got away. I realize with my last discussion on all of this, I completely forgot about something extremely important, or so it looked. Let's revisit this letter here. So here's the thing. I personally think that Dan Clancy should resign as president of Twitch because he's a great example right now of how out of touch Twitch leadership is with the way this stuff works. Now, the fact that you can think that you can chase pennies and stuff. Let me just give you an example of this. Looks like we had another issue on the network, but it wasn't as extreme. Let me just give you an example of this. YouTube has chased money for years. Now they have their leadership that comes out and says that they are philosophically neutral towards the idea of somebody using an ad blocker. That's how much everything has changed. So that's how much the situation has changed here. Is that YouTube is neutral towards the idea of using ad blockers. Well, there is an official answer on that. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they had to realize the reality of the situation, that fundamentally consumer behavior dictates everything. There really isn't a way to be a Scrooge McYouTube about this. As much as I've jokingly called them ScroogeTube from time to time when they focus too much on money, they found out the hard way over on YouTube that you can't really do that. Classic example, you can only send 3 notifications per day to your subscribers. The reason for that is because they tested it. People were turning off they were turning off notifications and unsubbing if you sent too many notifications. So 3 per day. Grand total, and mistakes can count as one of those 3, which is why you don't want to have to keep restarting stream, or if you have stuff that you don't want to use up a notification slot like YouTube Shorts or something, and you want to have the algorithms play with it, then turn that off for those kinds of things, and make sure that the 3 things that ping your subscribers are stuff that have earned those spots. It's 3 of them in a 24-hour period, so don't mess up too much here. But the point is, YouTube had to cave to consumer behavior because it's what people are doing anyways. As much as they'd like to do something else, as much as they'd like to monetize more, as much as they'd like to do this, that, or the other, they've butt up against just the fact that the consumer is the consumer can be one of the nastiest bosses that you ever have. And this is history repeating itself at Twitch. If they think that they can focus on money a bit more, even if Amazon's pressuring them to do so. Matter of fact, if Amazon is pressuring Twitch to monetize more, this is just more evidence that Amazon is a completely different parent company than Google in terms of how they treat their subsidiary. I think Google's more in line with the way tech in the scene and people using websites works than Amazon, the everything store that's infamous in the world of warehousing for running their people into the ground, and in some cases killing them. Like the guy running around the warehouses with, you got 100% productivity, try for 120%. Like the guy that ran around warehouses making plenty of money, keeping up making rate, sort of, until he found out the hard way that he had a heart condition that he never knew about because he was pushing himself to the limit, and then he found out the hard way he had that condition when he dropped dead on the warehouse floor. So heart failure, dead, like 26 years old or something. So that Amazon has a reputation for being intense and using people up and throwing them away. And in some cases, they go out in body bags. So you'll find these stories. Dig around at how Amazon treats their people in their warehouses. and think about it for a second. That kind of philosophy comes down from the top. You learn about the philosophy that Jeff Bezos has with regards to how he believes a business should be run, and it makes plenty of sense. So if Twitch is getting treated like garbage because they're a subsidiary of Amazon, doesn't surprise me. If Amazon is sending people in to run Twitch who are their own people and they're fundamentally used to a different culture that isn't in touch with the way content creation and online media works, doesn't surprise me. If there was some kind of leadership clash between Mr. Clancy and Constance Knight, which led to her resignation, there you go. I still think this guy should resign, though. And if he doesn't resign soon, there will be problems that force him to step down. Somebody's going to have a very hard talk with him when the stuff he's talking about doesn't work and doesn't deliver on the goods. Because this is the questions that he's trying to answer through monetizing Twitch more have already been answered elsewhere in the industry. So I don't know what special spin on things this guy's thinking of doing when here's how Twitch is going to do these kinds of things. I don't know. All right, so the big thing I talked about here is that Mr. Clancy seemed to be completely out of touch because there's all this crap going on Twitch. Then he goes and tells this to everybody instead of just ticking off the people that were affected by it. But the part that I seem to gloss over a bit more was the fact that they are getting rid of the 70-30 split completely. So here's the thing. The only people affected by this are the sliver of creators at the tippy top that were getting 70-30 in the first place. Now, I realize that what people wanted was for Twitch to follow, myself included, was for Twitch to follow YouTube's lead and set sub revenue to 70-30 for everybody. 50-50 is embarrassing in the industry. It's also one of those Twitch Bowl effect things. It makes sense if you don't know that the competition does 70-30. And I'll tell you this. The 50-50 sub split on Twitch is a example of this, not the example. Let me give you some other examples of stuff that gets Twitch bowled. The old flat CPMs before the ad revenue got upgraded, and even then it's arguably upgraded, because yeah, you get 55% on ads like on YouTube, but how many impressions do you get when the platform is designed to focus on live only? If your content's not live, it's dead. How many impressions do you think you're going to get versus on YouTube, which has a robust after-the-fact video infrastructure, and even stream replays, if you do them right, will get views? It's appalling, too. My streams, no matter what time I broadcast, have more of an after-the-fact audience than an audience that watches when live. That's what kind of setup YouTube has. Either way. So the old flat CPMs would be perfect. It makes sense. You might even be happy for them until you learn about dynamic CPMs, where the value of the content determines the CPM. That's what YouTube does. And many times the dynamic CPMs, if you're partnered on YouTube and you dig around and look at the CPMs, I'm not showing them on stream because that's internal business information. But I will say though, that nearly every video I have on even my small channel has had a higher average CPM than what Twitch was paying out. And then when they had to cave and admit that it was like 20-something to 30-something% that was going to the creator, and it really was terrible all along, as we all knew, those of us in the know on this kind of stuff, when that was outed, I was not surprised. But that's the thing. You think it's great until you find out about the competition. Transcoding is another wonderful example. Transcoding is treated like this resource-intense, privileged thing. It's a big thing. You know, it's very hard to do, so we can only give it to our partners reliably. It's one of the reasons to get Twitch affiliate, by the way. So you have higher priority for transcoding, even though you don't get it all the time, as a Twitch affiliate than as a Twitch rookie. So if you're platform hopping, pick up Twitch affiliate to get a higher chance for transcoding, or stream on YouTube, where transcoding is a baseline feature. There you go. Twitch Bowl effect. you might actually believe Twitch on their little fairy tale about how horrible transcoding is, and it's so precious of a resource, until you find out that some zero viewer Andy on YouTube can get transcoding baseline even with no audience, because it's a baseline feature across the entire platform. Maybe it took a lot of investment. But Google was willing to spend the money. I don't see Amazon doing that here. Then there's DMCA, Content ID. Oh, it was probably pretty expensive for YouTube to develop that system. It was probably very expensive for YouTube to develop that little system, the Content ID system. But, you know, it was probably expensive, but Twitch, you know, you might actually like some of Twitch's answers, crappy answers to the DMCA problem, until you find out YouTube actually was willing to invest the money in Content ID. So that way the record companies can do something besides give you strikes every time their song accidentally plays in the background on your IRL stream. Unless you're Sony Music Japan and you're from Japan, and Japan has screwy views on copyright in the first place, which is one of the reasons why I've kind of shied away from pretty much anything Japanese on here. It's the cultural differences between our countries that is coming home to roost now with the stricter copyright law over in Japan. Think like what the anime companies do to people. So, yeah. Until that gets resolved, I'm kind of nervous about anything, even JRPGs. Even playing Final Fantasy XIV or Genshin Impact as a game stream, because I have heard of copyright nonsense from the company that owns Genshin. So, let's see here. Baseline revenue share 50-50. I think China's moving in that direction too, so I'm worried about stuff that Tencent has anything to do with as well. It's this whole thing where the world is going more multipolar, as it's called. The regional powers are basically throwing the weight around in that part of the world, so it's becoming more of a wrestling match between how the West does things and how, say, China does things, how India does things, how Japan might do some things. So it's no longer the case that the West and liberal democracy is the baseline for everything in the world. And eventually that starts affecting things like DMCA on YouTube. So when YouTube has to sift through cultural differences. Twitch, too, by the way. It's one of the reasons why Twitch is a bit stuffy about certain kinds of adult content-ish over on Twitch, because they operate in more socially conservative countries that could threaten to firewall the service at the national level, and they lose all those viewers if they do. I think Turkey is usually part of that conversation, but there are probably some other countries, too, that have that going on. But anyways, so yeah, the baseline revenue share 50-50 is garbage. We know it's garbage. It's a Twitch bowl thing. It makes sense if you don't know that YouTube has 70-30 baseline, and other services like Patreon will actually give you a far better revenue share, to the point where you wonder how on earth do services like Patreon make any money. And Patreon actually did have some financial problems like a year or so ago. It was looking kind of ugly. I don't know what they did to turn everything around since then, but I don't know what changes they've made to turn things around to the point where we don't hear about that anymore. But I wonder if you're doing like a 12% to the company split for some of these other services, how does the company keep the lights on? That's my question. How are they able to do that? But I'm sure that's probably internal business information as well. Baseline revenue share 50-50 on the net revenue from those earnings. So anyways, the big issue I had, and the reason why I think Mr. Clancy should resign from Twitch, is because it's just tone deaf releasing this. With all the controversies, people getting angry. Also in the other direction, TwitchCon San Diego's coming up. So the 70-30 streamers that are being affected, and by the way, this doesn't take effect until the middle of next year. I would have waited until after TwitchCon San Diego. Don't spoil TwitchCon San Diego with an announcement like this if it's not going live until June 1st of next year. People have gotten mad at Twitch for stuff that happened earlier and things. People have gotten mad at Twitch for saving bad news till after conventions before. It wouldn't have been anything all that wild and crazy. To do this with TwitchCon San Diego coming up, though, is just, it's like here we go, lag. I don't know, that was just extra data that was sent earlier. It didn't dip first, it went up. Okay. Yeah, it was like, the whole Blitzchung thing and the effect on BlizzCon shortly afterwards, and Blizzard having to figure out what to do about all of that. So I don't know at this point. But anyways, this whole situation with the president of Twitch, This letter is completely out of touch. Really, this should have been the sort of thing that there was a bit more tact with announcing this bad news, especially when most of the people that are affected by this change already have plenty of money in the first place. Most of the people that are affected by this change were already incredibly rich. You're talking like top of the line Twitch streamers, the people that everybody else is jealous of. Now, you can run the numbers on a streamer with like 500 to 1,000 concurrents and see how, from sub revenue, they have like a $15 an hour job, and they're depending on sponsorships and donos to have any real spending money, much of which has to go into content, especially if it's IRL. We ran the numbers on Jay Streezy once, by the way, back when he was like 500 to 1,000 concurrents. That's not very exciting, especially with that 50-50 sub split. If it's all tier 1s for the subs and 50-50 subs, it wasn't that exciting. And that's really the thing. Well, real jobs have made a comeback. I really think that full-time content creators need to take a very, very serious look at the numbers involved, especially if you have places that'll pay you close to $20 an hour. You'll learn some real skills, you can learn some real hard skills there, get some decent exercise and not have to go to the gym. It's like, well, that's kind of in my neck of the woods. Your regional area might vary, but that's another discussion entirely. Talking about, for example, how the allure of being a full-time content creator is largely due to stuff related to the Great Recession. When regular jobs sucked, of course it looked good. Of course it looked like a great idea to be able to become a full-time content creator. Now, though, we got the opposite going on. We have the Great Resignation. Regular jobs pay more, and places will actually like you a lot more. Regular jobs pay more, and places will actually like you a lot more if you actually show up and are actually willing to do some work for the dumb jobs that nobody wants to do, because we've raised a generation of spoiled smartphone overgrown babies that are practically allergic to the idea of putting a little oomph into what it is that they do. It's one of the things I'm torn about with the 9-to-5ers right now. I could use more of my college background at larger companies than where I'm at right now. But I know where I'm at right now. I'm one of the best people that they have. So it would be a stinger if they lost me, especially when the next peak season rolls around. Because I'm one of the few people with an actual work ethic that can work without being monitored all the time. That's how the culture has changed among people coming into the doors of this place. Either way. So by and large, I consider this a misstep because Mr. Clancy should have waited until after TwitchCon, and the PR, the negative PR, has done more damage than the actual announcement will. You're talking top-of-the-line Twitch streamers that are probably have several income streams, maybe even an entire team working underneath them. They have access to resources to navigate something like this. It's not like you decided you weren't going to pay Twitch affiliates anymore or something. So some people are even speculating that this could lead to the removal of Twitch Prime, but I don't think so. Either way, we'll see what happens. So yeah, this was a PR blunder. Maybe this guy's got his bean counting ducks in a row, but it was an absolute PR blunder to send this letter around. Now, that's what I focused on. What I didn't focus on was the dissolution of the 70-30 split in the first place. So, let's see here. Where did he actually say he was getting rid of it? Baseline revenue. There's no consistent framework, so now we got to stop off. All right, here it is. There's no number. That's why I couldn't find it last time I streamed this. Over a year ago. Some more wiggling around. What are we up to for 177 drop frames? That's 0.2%, though. I had a 1% drop frame ratio before whatever got fixed. Not quite there yet. But still some drop frames into the mix and stuff showing up on the readout. Although maybe I'm noticing this stuff because I'm paying more attention to it because it was screwing up so effing much. Over a year ago, we made the decision to begin to stop offering these premium agreements to new streamers not already on these terms. So here's another thing too. People are like, oh, look, they're phasing it out. And I completely glossed that. They were already doing it. So they chose to Scrooge it out with their content creators and relegate Twitch to Daily Motion-esque small platform, no resources compared to their much larger competition. So they're going to offer crappier deals. But, people could have seen this coming very, very, a long time ago. Because one of the things, the people that are changing platforms, that are accepting the exclusivity deals with YouTube and stuff, the people that changed platforms and came over to YouTube, one of the reasons was because the offer was better. It seemed like Twitch didn't care, but YouTube was very happy to have people change over and pay them plenty of money to do so for the people that won the exclusivity deals with YouTube. So that's in play as well. But yeah, the big reason why, let's see here. The streamers still on the premium deals were adjusting the deal. They retained the 70-30 split for the first $100,000. Revenue above $100,000 will be split the standard 50. This is the part that I said sounded like taxes and stuff. So I don't know when it's going to be phased out, but fundamentally, yeah, they've doubled down on 50-50 sub splits despite what their competition is doing. So, Jay, why didn't you talk about that? The reason why I didn't talk about this as much as I could have, is because in business, you don't really spend a lot of time thinking about what ifs because you're busy with the day-to-day operations. When you're in a merger and when you're in an M&A, mergers and acquisitions situation, one of the things that you're going to hear about over and over again is until these changes go into effect, it is business as usual. So it's like a hard switch. Company gets acquired or company buys another company or something like that. Your company buys somebody or they get acquired by somebody. It is the way things are straight up until a switch. Don't get ahead of the company's moves. Keep on doing your job. Keep on servicing your customers. That's the attitude that you'll run into in an M&A situation on either side. Twitch right now is known for being stingy with the 50-50 split. Yes, it would have been nice for them to actually acknowledge their competition and find a way to compete with them and send everybody over to 70-30. But until that Twitch actually did that, and now the answer to that, of course, is never, until Twitch actually decided to do that, it's business as usual. So, as a streamer over there, if you are mad about this, you're mad about something that you were speculating, and we didn't know if Twitch was even going to do in the first place. Well, now that we know that Twitch has thrown their lot in with 50-50 sub splits, however they can justify them, even if it's through screwy numbers with the operations cost of the service. Now that Twitch has thrown their lot in with this stuff, now what? So I think with the changes to exclusivity, which basically stopped being so stuffy with where you stream or have alternative presences, or even if you multi-stream on TikTok to meet new people and then try and send them over to your YouTube when you make the transition to YouTube, because multi-streaming to a cell phone service is something that Twitch actually started allowing. Because they don't think it's going to be the same when you have a... Look, I've been looking at this Ninja situation as Ninja has become the biggest multi-streamer in the world, essentially. He's using services like Restream.io and stuff to take information from his computer and reformat it to the different services. So he can have a stream... for... somehow he's got a setup where he can have a stream for a horizontal format for something like Twitch and YouTube and Facebook. And then for the smartphones, he has something that reformats the stream over to something vertical for the vertical services. So there's a way to do what Ninja is doing. And there's a way to get around the vertical horizontal thing and multi-stream under that setup and actually... The thing is, where are those fans going to go, though? Got a bunch of people watching on TikTok. Where are those fans going to go? Something for you to figure out. Either way. So, now what? Focus on what you can control. The time that you spend sitting around like a professional victim, whining and complaining about the way things are. Hey, motorcycle. The time that you spend... Gorgeous weather for it, and I don't think it's dark out yet. That's half... I was 7:40 though, and it's late September. Well, I don't see anything bleeding through. Actually, maybe there's a little something there. But either way. So now what? Focus on what you can control. Sitting around like a professional victim, whining and complaining is time that you're not spending figuring out, okay, Twitch just did this crap move. They're out of touch, and they have senior leadership resigning from the company in the midst of scandals and blatant pressure from Amazon to monetize to the hilt what remains of that subsidiary. What are you going to do? That's the question you have to answer. Now what? Those magical 2 words, now what? It's a great way, when you're always asking now what, it's a great way to not waste time grinding to a halt, complaining about stuff, and actually do something about it. Let's refill some drinks, cue up my old discussion on, hey, what if YouTube bought Twitch from back when YouTube was actually in the running to buy Twitch, and we'll just have some fun with that afterwards. Jazz intermission time. We'll be right back. Yeah. So many things to talk about. I mean, I'm just playing catch up here while we test the internet to see how much things have been fixed and stuff along those lines. To recap a little something in case I took way too long to say something way too simple. I think the president of Twitch, after that whole issue with sub splits, should resign from the company because he's out of touch. But I realize what causes presidents to be pressured to resign is when they don't deliver on results. So I think really it's going to take some time for this whole thing to work itself out. And again, Twitch to make the same mistakes that YouTube did. And yeah, the sound's still working good. To make the same mistakes that YouTube did, keep the cover on this thing too, and have history repeat itself like we've seen over and over and over again. If you are a longtime YouTuber, none of what Twitch is going through is anything surprising. If you are a penny-pinching executive, might be a different story entirely. Let's have a little fun with React mode, and let's change the browser that it's hooked up to over to Chrome so I can get uBlock Origin in on the action and be one of those jerks ad-blocking my own videos. But... we're gonna play some of the old MultimediaJay radio series. We got a reaction mode here. Shouldn't be linking to anything. We actually got to change the size because it goes all the way back to 4:3. So what do we have in here regarding YouTube's potential acquisition of Twitch? We have a little too much on the sides because I just lost everything on screen number 2 because the thing wouldn't snap over properly. Whatever. All right, let me see this. Alt tab, you see a Jay's 2 cents video mixing in with that. I'm watching some Moist Critical videos as well. So yeah, once upon a time, YouTube was actually thinking of buying Twitch. I think it was like antitrust or something like that. There was some kind of something or another. And so I just thought it would be kind of funny to just go over all of this. Just try and, do a little what if, especially with regards to what's going on with Twitch nowadays. And then everything, all the mess that's happening. Just go back to the kind of stuff I used to talk about and see how much things have changed. It's from May 19th of 2014. So almost a decade ago. Well, 8 years ago anyways. So, all right, let's see. How have things changed and how much do I sound like a moron if I go back to the bad old days of... Yeah, this isn't going to move, by the way. It's just going to be an image. We're going to do a reaction to it. All right, how loud is this?
This is MultimediaJay Radio.
Radio on YouTube. Right.
50% on the volume. That's Ethan Meixel music, by the way. The most metal stuff ever in the YouTube audio library.
It's really surprising sometimes just how quickly certain amounts of time pass between stuff that I do on here or on other sites like WordPress and stuff like that. So I apologize to the blog crew for the second time in a row last night for not posting enough to the blog. And
I can hear the compression artifacts through the headset. Oh man, so long ago. So here's how these things used to work. Back when I was living in DSL country, which this would count as that. Back when I was living in DSL country, I would do these podcasty type things, and I would upload them in 240p. 320 by 240, the original YouTube resolution, so they'd upload quicker. This was kind of like my quick response to things thing in the days long before streaming. So, matter of fact, why on earth, this thing, oh man, scroll a little. The title doesn't even have an apostrophe in under YouTube's, so the entire time this has been on YouTube, the title is the original name of the MP4. It's literally never been punctuation-wise correct the entire time it's been on YouTube since 2014. That is, you can't use punctuation in the name. That's coming from the original file name. Maybe I should actually fix that. Why don't we fix that? Go back to full cam here. I can't get it from here because I'm not signed in. No. We have to change browsers to do that. Well, there's ways of doing this here. YouTube.com. No, go to the channel content, and it's probably the only video that has ever had the term acquisition in the title. Hey, what do you know? Let's fix this typo once and for all from back when I first uploaded it. Yep, file name regarding YouTube's potential acquisition of Twitch.mp4 or whatever the heck it was. So finally, after all of this time, the title finally matches. The title finally matches what it actually was. So, yeah, let's refresh the page. Probably have to listen to the metal again, which I won't mind. Finally, the title has an apostrophe in it. We continue.
This is MultimediaJay Radio.
Radio on YouTube. Right.
Hey, I don't care if we play this again. Keep it metal.
You know, it's really surprising sometimes just how quickly certain amounts of time pass between stuff that I do on here or on other sites like WordPress and stuff like that. So
it's getting compressed no matter what. And so the thing is, it's just the way it sounds in the monitor. I'd rather crank the volume in the browser and then turn down the masters. Not going to make a difference because everything gets compressed to all be the same level anyways. That's one of the reasons why everything sounds so radio-ish from when I do these things. But how come? Okay, yeah, I just was looking at the wrong thing there. All right, we continue.
I apologize to the blog crew for the second time in a row last night for not posting enough to the blog. And I've just been so wrapped up in computer hardware and stuff that it's just been monopolizing all of this social media / web 2.0 stuff that I do on here. But it's back to the microphone once again, despite having been gone for, I think it's been over a month now. So I'm surprised. I'm very surprised. You see, I thought that this kind of stuff, this audio commentary stuff, would be what I was doing on the side, and vlogging would be just a random thing here and there. But it's actually turned out to be the reverse, and I'm vlogging too much.
So this is the reason why you do the clickable program guides. So you can have people skip from like catching up with your audience back when you first uploaded it to the actual start of the discussion. You know, one of the things that I've been thinking of doing with a lot of these old videos is going through, maybe even on stream as part of do like a giant reaction stream and then update the description, stuff like that. You know what? Why don't we do that for this one? I can open up another web browser. We'll play it through Chrome and we'll edit it through Firefox and add a clickable program guide to this thing. That's actually something I've been thinking of doing for the wacky world of MultimediaJay and the older stuff from long before all this clickable program guide was a thing. So the thing is, the stuff in the clickable program guides works as metadata, except now I've got YouTube Studio completely frozen up here. Any more issues with the bandwidth? No, it's just getting unstable. Actually, no, that's 7.7 megabits per second. It's just pulling more data. So what I thought was an unstable bit rate is not really unstable. Of course, there's going to be more communication when I'm loading something. So acquisition, let's see here. We'll just say at the beginning was some kind of recap discussion. And the commentary is a product of its time from way back in the early 2010s. The original article from Kotaku is linked there. In the ever so eloquent words of Darth Vader, no reference to Revenge of the Sith. So obviously I opposed YouTube buying Twitch back then because I thought that, you know, a lot of the problems at YouTube would get exported to Twitch if YouTube purchased Twitch instead of developing their own live streaming platform. Well, their own live streaming, I should say, element. Because now, here's the thing. Back in the day, YouTube was not associated with live streaming. There's still people on YouTube to this day that will never associate YouTube with anything but regular 16:9 or 4:3 videos. It's what built the platform. The newer stuff is just a response to competition. Streams are a response to competition. Shorts are a response to competition. And viable competition at that. So the thing you got to remember with regards to what if YouTube bought Twitch all those years ago, Twitch would probably be gone. YouTube probably would have sunset Twitch completely and brought everything into the ecosystem when Facebook started going in that direction. So you could probably thank this acquisition not going through for Twitch actually still being around, because it would have been retired like Google Video or something, or it would have been like Facebook Gaming, what we see right now when you have a separate service for game streaming that you fold into the more general platform. So you see Facebook Gaming and its branding get retired, and then it gets folded into Facebook proper. So my guess is that Twitch would not still exist if it had been acquired by YouTube back then. So let's start a clickable program guide, and let's say, let's just do like a recap discussion. Let's do intro and recap, because that's basically, I'm talking about stuff that's going on at the time. And let's see, we have to keep the browser window the same size. So what I'm going to do is just do some tabbing and stuff, cover up my right tab on this. All right, so we're doing a little recap, apparently, back in 2014. What was I talking about back then?
So I intend on, hopefully I can do something about it anyways, maybe look up some more stuff to talk about in terms of audio commentaries and stuff. But I do have something to talk about, namely the proposed deal for YouTube to buy Twitch. So if you
140 is when the main discussion starts. Oops. Yeah, doesn't do it. It just blinks the screen, though, when I accidentally make the wrong thing down there. 140 is actually when the main... I should probably put this on a separate screen. All right, 140. Main discussion time. So if you want to skip the recap, I'll change the timestamp if the recap is still going on.
you haven't heard yet, and what exactly is going on with you if you haven't heard this yet, this has been pretty big news. So apparently there's a deal in the works. It's still rumor at this point, but there's a deal in the works
the
for
wrong
YouTube to buy Twitch, or shall we say Google to buy Twitch, which I do not support, and I think would be the single biggest social media / Web 2.0 disaster of the year if this deal goes through. Now, some people who don't check their facts may say that, oh, it's going to happen, everything's ruined, but it's still very much in the early stages at this point. There are going to be issues with, say, the government. Whatever antitrust alarms are left in Washington will definitely be set off by the largest online video site in the world buying another largest online video site in the world, though it's more niche than YouTube. Yeah,
The niche thing still applies to this day. Twitch is niche. Full stop. They tried to expand. They've been trying for literally years to expand. They don't have the resources or the infrastructure to do it. Even on just the live streaming part of it. Years and years later, gaming streams to like 80-something% of Twitch's total watch hours. So, and this is why I think that the president of Twitch, if they got some leadership in there that wasn't persistently insulting their talent, I think the president of Twitch should focus on, I would call it, get a copy of Good to Great, that old classic business book, read about the hedgehog concept, the idea that the hedgehog finds the one thing it does really, really well, and that's what it's known for. So like rolling into a ball or something like that. Businesses do that too. They ask themselves, what are we what is the one thing we do really, really well, and focus on that, and all your other goals come from that one thing. With Twitch, I think it's game streaming more so than anything else. They have the expansion categories, but they should keep them around in the sense of they don't ban non-gaming content on Twitch, but the emphasis should always be on the gaming stuff and the gaming tie-ins, because that's been Twitch's bread and butter. It started out as a gaming spin-off of Justin TV, for Pete's sake. So, yep, that one thing, that killer thing that you're good at doing. Either way, yeah, Twitch is still more niche than YouTube. Nothing has changed in the better part of 10 years.
This is going to be interesting to follow and see what goes on, and even more interesting to see what kind of unmerited YouTube drama develops as people gripe at each other about this whole thing. So,
the other part of this is what I was talking about earlier with regards to M&A situations. So it is business as usual until the change actually happens. People could have completely changed up their YouTube everything thinking YouTube would buy Twitch. YouTube never bought Twitch. The deal never went through. So until the thing actually happens, it's business as usual. A lot of us would have liked for Twitch to do a 70-30 split for all creators similar to YouTube. Until that actually was confirmed, it was business as usual, 50-50 split. Twitch is a small platform with way more limited resources, especially under Amazon, than its competition.
How many people are going to be out there like, oh, it's the end of Twitch, YouTube's buying it, even before we know for certain that this deal is going to go through?
So here's what I was saying at the time. I was saying that YouTube was going to basically infect Twitch with everything we were complaining about in the early 2010s. So I don't think Twitch would have wound up all that different as a subsidiary of YouTube. There's things nowadays that is unique to Twitch that is crap that Twitch is infamous for. Not much would have changed as a subsidiary of YouTube and Google.
Quite frankly, I think this is a disaster for the Twitch community. Now, I've been involved with Twitch on and off for the past year or so. I do have a Twitch account. I just don't use it because I've been lacking a decent streaming solution up until recently. Supposedly, the NVIDIA Shadow Play that came with my new video card will let me finally set up some stuff on Twitch and stream some PC gameplay footage and stuff like that if I wanted to have some, like, live play some stuff, Twitch events or something along those lines. But considering I'm still trying to just start doing gaming videos again on Daily Motion somehow, yeah.
Oh, man, that's right. NVIDIA Shadow Play. I hadn't heard of OBS at the time. So I was thinking that with real-time encoding and stuff, I did try that on the Frontier service. It was horrendously laggy, and I thought that there was no way for me to stream until I got OBS working on the old Frontier connection in standard def. Going to cable allowed me to go 1080p. 1080p 60 as well with a decent bit rate. It says everything about how different everything was back then, that we talk about streaming as NVIDIA Shadow Play is going to be the reason why I can start streaming. This is before I started playing ESO as well. So,
Though I don't know, should I even bother with Twitch at this point? Because if we look at the disaster that YouTube has become with all the mess that goes on these days, from the people still playing the system and now making money off of it, to the for-profit trolls, to the cheaters, to the copyright trolls, and the copyright troll companies whose entire business model is based on taking advantage of issues with YouTube's policies. When we look at the very, very, very tangled ball of yarn that YouTube has become these days, oh man, can you imagine Twitch being run the way YouTube is?
So, the interesting thing about this paranoia that I had back in 2014 is there are Twitch streamers nowadays that are scared of literally the exact same thing. No more M&A situation, no more merger and acquisition on the table. But there are people that are specifically on Twitch and taking the hit being on a much smaller platform because they don't want to put up with the YouTube nonsense. They don't want to put up with the algorithms. They don't want to put up with the false flag strikes. They don't want to put up with the automated systems screwing up. So literally what I was worried about when YouTube bought Twitch, there are Twitch streamers today that are worried about YouTube influencing Twitch through soft power and market pressure to become more like them. And the sad part is YouTube and Facebook to an extent are winning. The algorithms that have become a thing over on Twitch, instead of everything always being kingmaker, whoever has the most viewers is always doing the best. Devin Nash actually had a pretty good video on why view count and concurrence should not be something you overly obsess over as a streamer, especially with the direction that Twitch is going in. But the stuff that I was worried about back then is stuff that people on Twitch are worried about now. And unfortunately, some of them are actually having to deal with some of it, like the arrival of algorithms on Twitch.
Yeah, well, I can imagine it, and it is not a good imagining, let me tell you. Yeah, imagine if you went to watch someone that you really... Oh, no, we're getting ahead of things here. So the first time I watched Twitch actually was... I was poking around and I heard about Twitch TV on maybe it was an ad somewhere. Or
that's a chapter. That's a chapter. That's another marker on the program guide. When did that start?
Actually was. I was poking around. No, we're getting ahead of things here. So the first time I watched Twitch actually
424. Add that to the clickable program guide. 424. 424, and I'm not doing any spoilers in the program guide either. So 424, 420. What's 420 for? All right, 424. How I was introduced to Twitch. The thing is, chapter names are used as metadata in some of YouTube's systems nowadays, unless that gets nerfed, of course. But at the very least, I'd like to have people, to have options if they click around these videos.
I was poking around and I heard about Twitch TV. Maybe it was an ad somewhere or some YouTube video or some tech video mentioned Twitch. I went over there and I poked around. I was like, hey, this is a pretty interesting site. Watch people play video games. Twitch basically succeeds where YouTube failed at creating the kind of atmosphere online similar to the offline equivalent of going over a friend's house and playing video games.
This is me saying that in 2014. And that 5 years later, when I watched S-Fan play Classic WoW, let's actually, instead of how is it, that's not an interesting chapter name. Twitch, I think that's more of the main idea here. Twitch succeeds where YouTube fails. Put it in quotes. That was actually that was actually one of the hallmark features of some of the best game streamers that I've watched. And it even continues today on YouTube. When I watch the Game Chasers at their Saturday night stream, one of the reasons why I'm streaming earlier in the evening on a Saturday is so I can tune into Game Chaser guy's retro stream later tonight. So he's very chill about it too. The best game streamers that I've ever watched on Twitch and now YouTube as well, they recreate what it's like to go over a friend's house and play video games. And there's a ton of nostalgia with that for people my age. It's one of the reasons why, despite my stepmother being absolutely in love with my old childhood TV, why I insisted on getting it back, not because it's a great TV, it's more worn out than my Sanyo. The Daewoo TV, I want to take pictures of and make overlays with for like a retro game stream setup for when I game in 4.3. So I want to have, like, when I play retro games, show it at the right aspect ratio and set up actual stream stuff. So that TV is worth more to me in terms of taking pictures of it than the terrible, crappy speaker mono and the screwed up picture tube that it's always had from going all the way back to my childhood, where the screen was always a little off to the left. I still don't know if that's deflection yoke or if I can just use the modify the H hold. But I got to be very careful around the 20,000 volts or whatever it is that's powering the tube. I might need electrical gloves just to get tools in there in the first place. And even then, we don't want to fry anything by mistake if we go with metal tools. Probably need a plastic screwdriver and electrical lineman gloves around the tube. I won't be touching the anode cap, though, but running a CRT television hot while trying to adjust something that's close to the picture tube, I really need some expertise on doing this. Even if I fried the TV though and we just took pictures of it and recycled it, then that's that with that.
It's kind of like succeeding where online matchmaking
Let's back it up.
Pretty YouTube video or some tech video mentioned Twitch. First time I watched Twitch,
let's back it up to 421.
No, we're getting a little ahead of things here. So the first time I watched Twitch actually was, I was poking around and I heard about Twitch TV. Maybe it was an ad somewhere or some YouTube video or some tech video mentioned Twitch. I went over there and I poked around. I was like, hey, this is a pretty interesting site. Watch people play video games. Twitch basically succeeds where YouTube failed at creating the kind of atmosphere online similar to the offline equivalent of going over a friend's house and playing video games. It's kind of like succeeding where online matchmaking services like Xbox Live have kind of failed. All this online stuff is supposed to be like, oh yeah, if you want to play multiplayer, you can have an experience similar to going over a friend's house and playing video games by not going over a friend's house and playing video games and letting the internet work its internet-y magic.
So here's the thing with this whole Twitch succeeds where YouTube fails thing. This was years before the adpocalypse. The adpocalypse was where we started seeing a talent exodus from YouTube to Twitch, especially as Twitch rolled out some features like subs and cheering and gamifying streaming, but most importantly, the culture that is friendly to tipping. On YouTube, The minute you start asking for money or you join the partner program or you had a Patreon or whatever, literally screeching and hollering every single time, people thought you were a sellout. Like, you're not going to become one of those channels that asks for money all the time. You're an e-beggar. Get a real job. Why don't you go get a real job to buy that computer so you can make videos with it? Then, of course, Patreon. Are you going to be yet another channel that cries about their Patreon every single video? I'm unsubbing. Yeah. The hostility towards compensation for putting in the time to make YouTube videos never made any sense on YouTube. But it's a thing. Not so much on Twitch. Some of the financial transactions on Twitch make zero sense whatsoever. Like the whole fake girlfriend crap and stuff where you're just a name in chat. You're never going to be anything special, but the girly girl streamer will take your money until you start acting weird. As in, you start thinking you can get something for all that money you've poured into this person who has done absolutely nothing in return. Like, oh, but it's just a tip. Yeah, it is just a tip. People are weird like that, though. But there are some folks out there, very manipulative folks, that farm it and then play the victim when they get in too deep.
Yeah, I don't think that has worked out all that well. The few times I've tried doing online multiplayer, I've very, very quickly wished to return to single-player mode and not come back very often.
World of Warcraft was a big part of that. I used to think Blizzard Entertainment was the world's biggest babysitter with all the emo kids playing WoW and crying about stupid stuff back in the day.
Whether it was Battlefield 1942, Wolfenstein Enemy Territory.
Oh yeah, I did play some first-person shooter games in college. Yeah, sorry for giving the YouTube thing a nose with my mouse pointer.
Other shooters that I've played online and other sorts of games, even Mario Kart I tried playing Mario Kart DS once and all the snakers basically owned me. I'm like, yeah, you pretty much can't play online if you're not a master snaker.
It's interesting though, the first person shooters. That's one of the reasons why I never played Overwatch, soon to be Overwatch 2. Also why I don't play games like Apex Legends or Fortnite. I just figure the drama continues there where it used to be in the more grown-up looking games. Maybe I play Warzone, but I understand there's trolling with Call of Duty and people threatening to dox you when they lose a match and crap like that. First-person shooter games and the competitive element of it makes me wonder if esports was really worth it, instead of people being able to actually enjoy the games they play and just jockey each other based on skill, instead of, I could potentially become an esports player, so no, the idiots that are keeping me from winning are killing my ability to have a career now. It's not just about me losing games. That is kind of what's going on in people's minds, isn't it? You noob! Why are you not doing? What are you freaking moron? A chimpanzee could play this game better than you. I'm gonna go train a couple of chimpanzees at the zoo and they'll get more kills than you freaking idiot. What are you doing? Now, back in the day, that would have just been, oh, they're terrible at the game, I'm losing, I'm not enjoying myself because I'm playing with these morons that don't know how to play. Now you have, oh, I'm losing, I might not get to have an esports career if I got good enough at this game because I'm being held back by all these morons in the unranked queue or whatever. Look, I'm not from the Xbox Live generation. I might be a little out of date with some of my references, but I can tell you, spoiled crybabies playing video games is something that doesn't change. It's just on the internet now, instead of someone breaking your controller because they lost in Mario Kart and threw your controller against the wall. Right.
Until snaking got nerfed in Mario Kart Wii. But then, of course, you'd always get blue shelled all over the place. And, yeah, you'd run into those people. And this goes for any kind of online matchmaking. I run into it with World of Warcraft, too. And other.
There's WoW. WoW had to make it into that discussion. But, yes, WoW has had plenty of toxicity over the years. Asmongold didn't come out of nowhere. There's a reason why a guy acting like Asmongold does became as popular as he did. Because people already related to the professional neckbeard who plays WoW too much.
Other competitive online games. I probably would run into this if I ever got into League of Legends, too. But whenever you go...
Yep, League of Legends. League of Legends is... WoW was League of Legends before League of Legends was League of Legends.
If you imagine yourself playing an online video game, And it's like going over a friend's house, chilling with your friends, drinking some cold ones, and playing some video games on a nice TV. And it's like, yeah, everyone's chuckling. Even if you lose, they're like, ha, 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 ha. You make a lighthearted joke out about it. But no, you run into the griefers, the spammers, the idiots,
The throwers. That's a newer term.
everybody who ruins your experience. Those people who obviously spend
I don't get to be DPS? Wah, I'm throwing. We're losing and you're going to get downranked. Maybe you should actually let me DPS next time.
16 hours per day playing video games and are practically robots with how they twitch their thumbsticks and kick everyone's ass. And
Okay, that's the people that are actually good at games. Then there's the people that never get good at games because they keep flipping out over stupid stuff and never actually work on their skill. They're always they're always finger pointing somebody. Like,
That person's the reason why we lost.
yeah, well, you're so focused on root cause analysis that you never get good at the game. Ugh. World of Warcraft Battlegrounds. Arathi Basin had a crap ton of this. There's always some genius, nice word, in the chat who be standing around barking orders at everybody.
The farm. Go take the lumber mill. Go take the blacksmith. Go take the stables. Dude, this is why we always lose. You people suck.
Yeah, well, the time you're spending writing all of those insults into text chat because there's no Ventrilo or anything or voice chat or voice comms or anything. How much time it takes to type that out? Time you could have spent actually doing something instead of being the equivalent of an AFKer on our team. Shut up.
take names.
Oh, yeah. You think I'm years removed from the peak drama that I dealt with in World of Warcraft. You think the old man don't still got it? Whatever.
So, yeah, do you do anything besides play Xbox all day? Yeah. Everybody knows who I'm talking about. Those people that are like tool-assisted speed runs without being tool-assisted, though they can still sometimes be tools.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The elitists. The people that played the game 16 hours a day and wondered why you couldn't be as good as them.
But I put in the work, and I'm successful at tanking this raid. I'm successful at Mario Kart. How come you can't do it?
Because I have a job.
You're just a filthy casual, and it's stupid that the game hands out gear to you. Get off the internet and go play single player.
But it's an MMO.
I don't care. Go play Skyrim, you dumbass.
Why am I so good at fake insults?
Yeah, this whole everybody online thing just hasn't really gone the way most of us would have imagined.
The thing is, back in the 90s, someone could have imagined a persistent online world and fantasize about how wonderful it would be. Bunch of people role-playing, make the world come alive. You wouldn't need to depend on computer AI for stuff like that. Such a wonderful thing it would have been, according to those of us who wanted it in the 90s. The MMO scene, however, has gone in a very, very different direction.
The kind of online stuff that we may have imagined back in the 90s when you were cool
There we
if
go.
you hosted a LAN party on your 10 megabit network, maybe even token ring. We actually tried some of that in high school. Folks would bring in like the Doom shareware for Windows 95 or Quake 3 or something like that.
No, it was always the Doom share. Quake 3 Arena was a college thing for me. That's 1999 we're talking about. So by the time the shareware is all over the place, it was college. Doom shareware for Windows 95, as well as like an old Microsoft Flight Sim, but Doom was the big one. That's the game that everybody snuck in on a floppy disk in their pocket and snuck it onto the school computer when the teacher wasn't looking. Because if your high school didn't run Macs or something like that, if it ran PCs, you were probably running Windows 9X. You would hit escape to log on without needing any credentials. And our school district was terrible at literally any kind of software to lock the machines down so unauthorized software couldn't be installed. So yeah, Doom shareware for Windows 95 was pretty much everywhere the teachers weren't looking. Electronic shop. But I'm seeing how good the computer is. I'm testing something here by playing Doom. Stuff you only get away with in high school.
Maybe even Quake 2, but we actually tried some multiplayer. It was a really clunky experience at best over the one or two routers in the entire school. And this is...
Yeah, there was no internet. You had to go to the library and sign in on dial-up in order to look at the World Wide Web. The LANs in the schools were for the school computers only. It was an element of security because the school didn't have an outgoing connection, so some idiot brings in a virus on a floppy disk, you can isolate the computers pretty easily. Not like today's world. But, yeah, so there's only certain parts of the school that had LANs in them, but that didn't stop people from trying to do a LAN party with the Doom shareware for Windows 95 or something. Or the StarCraft demo from Electronic Gaming Monthly. You see, it's not shareware or anything. I just got a demo disc for StarCraft that I got in this magazine this month. Next thing you know, everybody's playing StarCraft. Stop playing Zerg all the time. Play Protoss.
This is Windows 98, so no real security to keep people from sneaking games in on floppy disks or even shareware. I think we got StarCraft working, and that's pretty much it. But, okay, off of the tangent here. Twitch is supposed to recreate this kind of experience where you go over a friend's house and play games, only instead of being like online matchmaking, it's you're playing the game and other people are watching you. Now, I've experienced this offline before, going over friends' houses back in the N64 days, folks playing Grand Theft Auto Vice City when I was in college, all this other stuff.
That's why my retro setup has that's why I prefer tungsten lighting on my retro setup. So probably Geekhouse. I have Geekhouse retro mode now, which does minimal tungsten lighting on the two backlights, and it's tungsten on purpose because that's the kind of vibe that I'm going for, is old-fashioned incandescent light bulbs. Playing video games over a friend's house, and back when you had incandescents and your choices were between 40 watts and 100 watts, and it was actually a big thing to turn the lights off every time you left a room. Yeah, you probably were over somebody's house with like 40-watt bulbs because they were trying to be cheap and not pay too much on the electric bill. So the equivalent of 40-watt bulbs in the LED bulbs over there in tungsten mode for the retro experience. It is pretty cozy if I can get the colors right.
And Twitch, I think, has done a somewhat decent job. The first time I watched anything on Twitch was I was actually watching two speedrunners speedrun Mario 64.
Siglemic, and I forgot what the other guy's name was. Speedrunning, split-screen speedrunning of Mario 64. First to 70 stars and beat Bowser wins. That was so cool at the time.
They were racing each other's 70 stars. I think one of them was called Siglemic or something like that. And I think he has a channel on YouTube. I actually subscribed to him shortly afterwards, but I've yet to watch any more of his speedruns. So,
back when you watch Twitch streamers for their skill and not some screwball personality, soap opera, whatever it is that they were trying to build up for themselves with their $1,000 DSLRs being used as webcams or GoPros. I'm telling you, a lot of this online media has so many barriers to entry nowadays with equipment, and people want to pretend equipment's not part of the reason why the big streamers get the views. Really?
Wow, I've been one fail of a YouTube subscriber. Epic fail or something like that. Yeah, so I watched these two, and it was fun. And this is the sort of thing you couldn't have done over a friend's house, because unless you had two Nintendo 64s and two TVs and stuff.
Two exact same size TVs as well. The most fond memories I have of one of these parties was the Y2K party. Brought over the N64. They had a sound system. Guy's dad was a disc jockey, so he had a primitive 5.1 system with full-size speakers. Think like, gutting two 80s stereos for your front left and rear left, and then bolting speakers that would normally go on the floor in the 80s and 90s with a stereo system onto the wall for your rear channels. And then I think he might have even taken a disc jockey speaker and turned it sideways for his center channel on top of his, thankfully not rear projection, big screen tube TV. Fortunately, it wasn't rear projection, so no worries about burn-in from the N64, but huge screen Mario Golf. That was the shiznit, folks. And then I thought Y2K was actually going to be something, so I had everything in a duffel bag. And as we counted down the last 10 seconds of the year 2000, I put the duffel bag up next to the door in case the lights went out. The conspiracy wackos obviously had a little too much influence on me back then.
And but yeah, it was fun. I mean, you watch these. It was a split screen side by side.
Actually, it was an old lady in my church. The same old lady in my church who freaked out if she found out you had dial-up internet. Oh, yeah, I know about this stuff related to what Christians are putting up with because I have the internet at home and I'm never having lunch with you again. You assumed that if you had internet access, dial-up back then, that you were doing bad things with the connection. Spare me. Oh, by the way, this prude that freaked out once because the church youth group went to go cosmic bowling. There's a bar in the bowling alley. Oh, no. She wound up having a Facebook page in the age of social media. So all this internet is the devil or whatever, no. That's what you run into with these hotheads. You find out the hard way they didn't believe in jack squat. Yeah? Turn off the television. Get off the Sinternet. Then they have Facebook pages and watch reality shows.
Twitch stream. Actually, maybe it worked because the games were in 4:3, so it didn't really get too nuts if you went widescreen with them. But it actually, it was a very interesting experience watching these two guys absolutely own Mario 64 and actually race each other to see who could get to 70 stars first. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that the internet has brought to the world of gaming these days without needing a giant LAN party or a tournament.
So this description of Siglemic, I think, should be its own chapter. Where did I start talking about that?
Twitch stream. Actually, maybe it worked because the games were in 4:3, so it
Back it up.
I think one of them was called Siglemic or something.
Okay, here we go.
Stuff. And you're playing the game and other people are watching you. Now, I've experienced this offline matchmaking. It's you're playing the game and other people are watching you. Now,
I'm getting too into the commentary and looking back at the way I used to think back in 2014 with this reaction stuff that I'm not actually doing what I'm here to do and make the darn clickable program guide. Let's catch up on that, shall we?
Experienced this offline before, going over friends' houses back in the N64 days, folks playing Grand Theft Auto Vice City when I was in college, all this other stuff. And Twitch, I think, has done a somewhat decent job. The first time I watched anything on Twitch was
8/11.
I think has done a somewhat decent job. The first time I watched
8/11. So add that. Wrong thing again. I'm clicking the wrong browser here. So 8/11, new chapter. See here. Siglemic speedrunners and my introduction to Twitch. Shut up, spell check. I'm spelling Siglemic correctly. I don't even think he streams anymore. I think he's one of those like speedrunners that people wish would come out of retirement. I'd have to check. Might still have YouTube video. Why don't we do that? We have multiple browsers here. So video details, youtube.com. See here. Hope it doesn't autoplay anything. Oh, Valkyrie's streaming. Another 48-hour stream, huh? This isn't Twitch, Valkyrie. You should be more of a professional than etc., etc. 8 years ago, Super Mario speedrun by Siglemic. Let's try youtube.com/c/Siglemic. Nope, page not available. So the archival footage of the speedrun showdowns is from 8 years ago, and it's from other channels that were broadcasting the speedruns. All right, we were up to, what, 9-something for this?
Watch anything on Twitch I was actually watching two speedrunners speedrun Mario 64. They were racing each other to 70 stars. I think one of them was called Siglemic or something like that.
Yeah, we're past this.
And it's in 4:3, so it didn't
further
is brought to the world of gaming these days without needing a giant LAN party or a tournament or a mega expensive conference that you have to pay for the tickets, then buy plane tickets to fly out there or be on the road for so many hours one way.
So that's the thing. What Twitch did to game streaming and still has them as the biggest game stream service out there was something special. And now the management nowadays wants to go nuts with, we'll find a way to justify the 50-50 sub split, even though our competition offers better deals. Sad, really.
Just to watch a lot of people play video games in like a convention center or something. This is really a marvel, and YouTube wants to buy it. YouTube, the home of the for-profit trolls, the really short videos with really long calls to action.
Oh, this is the beginnings of some of the meta garbage that's going on today.
YouTube.
9:35. So what was our last start of that? 8:11? Yeah, introduction to Twitch. 9:35. YouTube. Problems with YouTube. Buying Twitch. The sad part is it's a giant anachronism. I don't know whether to make this look like it was part of the original description and make it appropriate to when I uploaded it in 2014, or if I should just talk like in, hindsight is 2020. It's really tough here because the clickable program guide that I'm putting in is 100% an anachronism.
The home of to buy it. YouTube, the home of the for-profit trolls, the really short videos with really long calls to action.
So the for-profit trolls, before some of the policies and community guidelines things today, there were contrarians who got into the partner program and grew their entire channel off of making people mad and then just taunting them in the comments when they got angry because they got their engagement, they got their subs, and everybody hated them. They had some smart asses that liked watching them make fun of others, but today's YouTube is very different. But I do remember some early partners being negative content creators who would rub it in your face that they make money off of making you mad. It's like the old Rush Limbaugh clip from back when he back in the 80s or 90s or whatever it was, when he talked about people on talk radio that grew their audiences by making people mad and being controversial because, there's no such thing as bad publicity. Until you have to be a concealed carry person and carry a gun everywhere you go because you got so many people that hate you, but that's what made you famous. Yeah. Whatever happened to the golden rule?
At the end of them, where people bug the heck out of you to subscribe and like and favorite every single video.
Oh, yeah, that's right. This is the beginnings of the generic YouTube video meta today, where like only 85% of the video will actually be what you clicked on the video to watch. And nowadays you'll have in-video advertising. You'll have this video was sponsored by blah, blah, blah. You'll have all this crap. And then we wonder why something like TikTok has made the waves that it's made when you're limited to a short vertical video on a smartphone. And once again, watching a video is 100% the video is the video, not this crap that YouTube videos are utterly infested with nowadays.
As if that doesn't get annoying.
It does get annoying. Not only did it get annoying, but a little tiny upstart social media platform out of China was able to go international and become a serious competitor in the social media scene because of something simple, short form, that worked.
YouTube, the home of the copyright trolls.
Yep, copyright trolls. Still a thing. Newegg actually got some good publicity in the middle of the 2010s for taking some of those people to court for abusing things like DMCA or patents or something. I think it was patent trolls with them. But I was having problems at the time with stock tracks. The reason why I used the YTAL YouTube audio library is because the stock tracks that I was using, sometimes to the tune of $50 a song, were getting fed into Content ID, and YouTube wasn't vetting this stuff. They put fake song names and fake artists. Scammers would put fake song names and fake artists on stock tracks, feed them into Content ID before the actual rights holders did, and they would try and make money off of claiming people's videos and in pretending it was really their song if you challenged them. I'm sure there were people that got copyright strikes back then because shoot first, ask questions later is how that garbage worked and still works to this day, which is why copyright abuse is such a giant problem, not just on YouTube, but as a precedent for the entire online media world.
And the other assorted trolls, and all the trolls have been trolling up YouTube for years, abusing YouTube systems wherever they can, things like that.
And the reason why there are many, many policies that now exist nowadays that didn't exist back in that decade.
This is the sort of entity that wants to buy Twitch. Oh, I can imagine what an absolute disaster that would be.
So Twitch at their best, then and now, game streaming, the internet equivalent of going over a friend's house and watching them play video games. None of the slacktivism, none of the virtue signal garbage, none of the Twitch hotheads who get Twitch affiliate and think there's something special and then freak out at the tiniest little things that offend them and grind their streams to a halt whining about stuff. No, just simple, watch someone play a video game. Nice, mellow, simple, it works. Versus YouTube having all these internal problems at the time, which is why I didn't support the acquisition of Twitch.
Imagine if one day you fired up some Twitch streamer person that you really like. You go and watch them going through like some game or something like that, and maybe their audio gets muted. This has been muted because of copyright issues, something like that.
Oh yeah, early content ID that didn't have the song scrubber. So yeah. Of course, Twitch did end up with a VOD muting system and all their assorted copyright nonsense that has been going on for the past couple of years. But yeah, 2010's YouTube. Imagine if Twitch got like that. Of course, maybe that would have been a good thing because Content ID is a lot more mature and creators have a lot more options nowadays, including the aforementioned song scrubber when their videos get claimed or even blocked.
Like, can you imagine Content ID on Twitch? How much?
No, this is back when I thought Content ID on Twitch would be a bad thing. That's how long ago this was. 6 years later, here comes the RIAA with robots to automate DMCA takedown requests because Twitch got caught with their pants down with not enough technology, and they got big enough to be noticed by the record companies. Oh, what a young and innocent world it was back in 2014, long before all that crap. That's worth a replay.
Streamer person that you really like. You go and watch them going through like some game or something like that, and maybe their audio gets muted. This has been muted because of copyright issues, something like that. Can you imagine Content ID on Twitch? How much would that ruin Twitch? Yeah. I really, really think that YouTube needs to get its own house in order before making acquisitions. Hint, hint. No, this is a disaster waiting to happen. Yeah.
So, what has happened in the past 6+ years, though? They have gotten their house in order. There's still automated systems that are a problem, and you're still going to have problems with games that have licensed soundtracks. But here in 2022, YouTube is setting up the infrastructure to cut deals with the record companies so you can voluntarily split your ad revenue with the record companies if you use commercial music. If they can get that polished up and get the record companies on board, that would be one of the biggest solutions to this stuff in a long time. And maybe you could work out the details later, but I mean, the thing is, a lot of videos that have commercial music in them showcase the value of the commercial music to the rights holders, because a lot of times, and we're seeing this with TikToks nowadays, a lot of times stuff that has commercial music has value because of the commercial music that is in it. And this goes back decades. I remember in the pre-YouTube days, the parodies of the Mentos commercials, that someone would make some kind of screwball parody and they'd use the music from a Mentos commercial or something, or parodies of television commercials that had jingles to them. So that's one example of commercial music just carrying the content.
Twitch running like YouTube. And of course, it's obvious why they'd want to do this. YouTube kind of sort of doesn't really have, isn't that great of a place to put up gameplay footage of.
So it just shows how long ago this was, that every single time I talk about Twitch becoming like YouTube, I'm disgusted by it. Nowadays, I think, yeah, it's totally the opposite.
Of any sort. The Let's Players do it, but it's a clunky process. You got to record the thing and talk over it and edit it and upload it. And if you're not in one of the gifted parts of the world that actually has broadband that isn't total garbage, you have to pretty much upload while you sleep in order to have it uploaded within a couple hours, in order to not tie up your internet connection for hours on end.
So where was I? I was further out in the woods than I am right now. 2014. If I spent a crap ton of money for cable, which socked it to you for being technologically superior to DSL, you would be spending like close to $100 a month in 2010's money for 25 down, 2 up. That was the best internet at the time. On the DSL side, which was the budget internet for people that didn't want to spend chunks and chunks of their paycheck on internet access, you capped out in my ADSL territory with the old copper network at 6 megabits down. 6 down, asynchronous, way less up, not even a megabit up. It took moving to VDSL territory with the outdated YouTube, with the outdated Uverse circuit in order to finally get a megabit up. And they couldn't go any further. If I wanted to say goodbye to cable, I would be on 18.1 again. Outdated crap. All this because fiber to the neighborhood through AT&T Uverse was technologically inferior to fiber to the home through Verizon Fios. Verizon got it right, AT&T didn't. And in the parts where they got it the worst, snowplows are taking out the lawn refrigerators in the middle of winter and knocking out the internet to entire neighborhoods for days at a time. Yeah. I don't miss the DSL days. Sadly, if my dad's talking about broadband, even to this day, he'll still slip and refer to it as DSL from time to time, because that's what I had in 2005. Let's see, I had 1.5 megabits down. I was like, yeah, I got what my college had on the T1s now. I thought that was fast back then. Then I moved to 3 megabits, then capped out at 6 megabits. AT&T kept getting rid of the cheaper tiers, so you were forced up to the top tier of DSL, and then you gradually started watching cable beat DSL in value as coax cable started giving you more gigabytes per dollar or more megabits per dollar. So, of course, bandwidth caps are the screwy part of all of that. That just throws a wrench in the whole thing.
Yeah, it's a bit of an issue. And I think Twitch really answers what the Let's Play community has really wanted all along. All these Let's Players out there are like, hey, come watch me play video games, listen to my commentary, be entertained by me responding. Or wait a minute, does PewDiePie have a Twitch channel?
I was getting that at the time, too. I'm like, why isn't anybody watching my gaming videos? Because we don't need to. We can just watch Twitch. Amazing how the world has changed. There are still some Let's Players around that I watched back in the 2000s, like H.C. Bailey. They're still doing LPs. But there used to be a whole culture of Let's Plays, and they made fun of you for using a camcorder. I openly wonder if the era of the camcorder Let's Play has arrived with the whole retro thing and obsessions with CRTs. Considering what the Super A guys used to make fun of in the 2000s, that would be hilarious if that was actually desirable now to record a CRT with a camcorder.
I mean, the guy's format is just so belongs on Twitch.
This is old school PewDiePie, by the way. Nowadays, I think Markiplier, with his random screams and shouts in his videos, no matter how old he gets, whatever, is probably a better analog to that. Otherwise, look at Markiplier's LP of Aoni on RPG Maker 2005. Hello? It's like, never seen a grown man scream so much playing a horror game.
Instead of watching in installments as he uploads them. This is totally like, hey, bros. Wow, watch me play. That does not sound at all like PewDiePie. Hey, bros. Watch out. This is PewDiePie.
I could probably do a better impression nowadays, but PewDiePie does things differently now.
I shall give up trying to impersonate the most popular dude on YouTube, because apparently I can't impersonate the guy without making him sound like he's 60. Right. Anyways. So,
Right.
Can you imagine PewDiePie? Yeah, does he have a Twitch channel? I mean, it just seems like the guy's, hey, come watch me play these games and watch.
Another browser window, please. Twitch.tv/PewDiePie. Dark mode. PewDiePie is offline. 1.3 million followers on Twitch. No recent broadcasts. Probably because he streams on YouTube. Sullygnome.com. No, Twitch tracker. That'll give more historical. Yeah, no, I'm not trying to DDoS you. PewDiePie. It's not, there's no auto thing coming out. Let's see here. Is that the right, is this the right channel? Most popular clips, 22,000 views in 2016. 8 million views on Twitch. Account created February 24th, 2011. No stream data, though. Nothing but clips. So this is probably a... So the PewDiePie stuff on Twitch tracker... Oh, look, receding hairline back then. Was probably part of a data scrape of his Twitch channel at the time. And so he probably streamed earlier. When was his channel made again? 30 April 2016. No, created February 24th, 2011. So he did some charity streams over there. So yeah, PewDiePie did have a Twitch channel at one point, but now he's one of the biggest YouTubers. And YouTube, being a YouTuber nowadays means streaming on YouTube. So, yeah. So there's that question answered after all these years.
Watch me react to him. It just seems like that Twitch.tv would be exactly where he should be instead of you. Or maybe it's because of all of his subscribers on YouTube that he still does all his YouTube stuff. It just seems like maybe YouTube's holding this guy back and he should be tearing up Twitch at this point.
Today, YouTube is nearly 18 times larger than Twitch in terms of monthly active users. Shows how I did not at all follow the data back then. Ah! No full screen needed.
But anyways, what's going to be the point of any of this if Twitch is acquired by YouTube? I mean, yeah, YouTube doesn't really have an answer to Twitch. You can Let's Play on YouTube, but it's a...
this is the old school YouTube with videos only.
Or maybe it's because of all of his subscribers on YouTube that he still does all his YouTube stuff. It just seems like maybe YouTube's holding this guy back and he should be tearing up Twitch at this point. But anyways, what's going to be the point?
12:51. So it's important. I think it's important. Wrong one. At 12:51. I think it's important that I put into the metadata on this thing at least once. YouTube's make or buy decision, because that's what this was. And when the deal wasn't able to go through for antitrust or whatever reasons, YouTube wound up having to do take the make route instead, and then the result was the original YouTube gaming and eventually YouTube's streaming component nowadays. But philosophy towards streaming does not need to be dictated by Twitch. I think that's a lesson for the entire industry nowadays. We continue.
Of any of this if Twitch is acquired by YouTube. I mean, yeah, YouTube doesn't really have an answer to Twitch. You can Let's Play on YouTube, but it's a clunky process at best, and you don't get the real-time feedback. So it's not entirely like going over a friend's house and watching him play video games, because you can't be like, no, you idiot, the power-up's over there. Hell, come on, man, get this power-up. How could you miss that? Yeah, man, awesome. You don't get the kind of real-time feedback that you would get. That you would, should not do these videos after supper. You don't get that
Indigestion back then. Woo! Nothing has changed.
Kind of feedback that you would get from having friends over, kicking back on a big comfy sofa, blasting the TV and the speakers, and taking blowing the dust out of the subwoofer. I wasn't gonna say taking the subwoofer for a spin, but blowing dust out of the subwoofer is often what folks try to do. Let's see what's built up since the last time I blasted the living room with this stuff. Yeah. So it's something to consider. You know, I really don't think that anything good could come of YouTube acquiring Twitch. They really need to look at cleaning their own house first. And any backlash against YouTube acquiring Twitch right now should be a wake-up call to YouTube. If these issues that bother people about YouTube were addressed, maybe this would be a lot more easily stomached by the Web 2.0 video public. I don't want to say general public, because a lot of folks don't really pay attention to this stuff. You really got to be a nerd like me or the folks that do this stuff to really chime in on something like this. But
The multimedia meta. Yep. Only a certain subclass of nerds really care about this stuff, although it does give views on YouTube, even when I do streams like this. So, YouTube has to get its house in order before buying Twitch, You could extrapolate that to today's world, talking about YouTube peacocking with buying essentially these streamers off of Twitch by giving them nice, handsome contracts to change platforms, kind of like what Mixer did, going after names instead of making the service better overall. So it's just it's really interesting. YouTube needing to get their own house in order is one thing that hasn't changed in all these years. We have a problem nowadays with YouTube not working on the bread and butter of their service for the little guy, but the latest streamer to come over to YouTube on a nice little contract and whatnot. Yeah, that's what gets paraded around.
Yeah, it's maybe really YouTube's focus should be inward. Now, I realize that that Google's involved here, since this is YouTube and stuff like that. Yeah, Google's involved, and Google has this thing for trying to buy stuff that they really can't come up with a decent competitor to. Like, for example, buying YouTube after Google Video didn't put a dent in YouTube's viewership. And, this tends to be exactly the sort of thing, actually.
Make or buy decision. So Google Video looked like YouTube back then, but was run by Google directly. Was nowhere near as popular. YouTube went viral. YouTube had the mind share. YouTube had the brand strength. YouTube, by all means, was going to be the winner, even if Google didn't buy it. So in the same vein, YouTube in 2014 didn't have an answer to Twitch. So it would have been history repeating itself for Google to buy Twitch. Our device physically unplugs the entire internet stack once we get still those kind of snobby tech nerds of the worst. Joseph's here. Joseph's here playing catch up and stuff. Hey, you could always just check things out after the fact as well. So let's see here. Regarding YouTube's potential acquisition. So yeah, if YouTube had bought Twitch, it would have been history repeating itself, because that's what Google does. Google acknowledges what's good at what they want to do in the industry. They had a competitor to YouTube, didn't do as well as YouTube, bought Google Video, or bought YouTube, shut down Google Video. But since this deal couldn't go through, they actually had to make something. And I would argue that YouTube making a streaming component independent of Twitch is probably one of the best things they've ever done. Because if you can imagine some of the more toxic elements of Twitch culture becoming standardized on YouTube, that's not what ultimately happened. So the way it is nowadays is YouTube doesn't need Twitch for anything. YouTube doesn't need Twitch for literally anything. So they're big enough, developed enough, and established enough that they can carve their own path. The bigger showdown is going to be YouTube versus Facebook. Twitch is just peacocking. They make themselves look bigger than they actually are because they're incredible at marketing.
That YouTube tends to do. So maybe it's not entirely unexpected, but it's certainly not good for Twitch. I really hope that something stops this deal, because otherwise I fear for the future of Twitch. I mean, are people really going to want to put up with the nonsense that regularly shows up on YouTube?
Let me check something in Firefox while we're at it. Give me another Firefox window. Let's deal with this situation here, especially if people feel the need to comment on literally everything that I do. Channel content. No, go to the main page. Go to the main page. Yeah, I just bugged out my Nice that YouTube is pulling nice that YouTube's pulling reaction stuff too. Oh, that is a problem. Oh, I see what the problem is. Ah, that's what the issue is. I was going to say, don't use chat for what comments do, for if you're not responding to what's live right now, because it'll screw everything up in the replay. But plus, I've also found out that chat eventually expires, but there are no comments when a YouTube stream is live. So there's, yeah, I think it'd be better just to leave the comments after the fact if you're not responding to something live here. So let's see. Nice to see it pulling thumbnails, though, from the stream as is. Yeah, it's going to look kind of bizarre talking about something that happened in the stream like an hour or two ago when, what are we at for live time? 2:18:34. Interesting. Yeah, talking about something that happened an hour ago in the stream just because YouTube has DVR mode, but there's no comments yet. So, either way.
On a site like Twitch. Actually, I think that would be the cue that maybe it's time for some competition to Twitch. Much like maybe Dailymotion could like start something. I don't.
Dailymotion does have a live streaming component nowadays, and it looks like a ripoff of YouTube's. I've seen pictures of their live control room style thing, but then so does Facebook. It's like it's just like Facebook actually. So right. The thing is, it'd be nice maybe if Twitch had some competition. They do now. They have a lot of competition, and so does YouTube. It's one of the reasons why you're seeing all of this work from all these platforms, because they got to get their ass in gear because somebody else is running away with all the market share.
No, but I don't see anything good coming of an acquisition of Twitch by YouTube. And who knows, maybe I shouldn't bother with doing anything on Twitch. With how YouTube's become, do I really want to get involved on Twitch if it's about to become a subsidiary? I'm gonna have to think about that. Maybe you folks can think about this too. This is definitely something to think about. Thanks for listening, everybody. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by.
I need to stop shouting so much in these things. After all, the microphone is right here.
The pre-end screen era. And so I had these big thanks for watching screens at the end of all the videos, and now how the heck do you put an end screen on there? That's why one of the best things I think YouTube could roll out is something... All right, we can hit save on that. Actually, did we close it yet? No. Let's hit refresh on this. Let's hit refresh on this and see the results of our handiwork. Intro and recap. All right, so let's go back and let's actually put it into browser mode because the link is the same for both of these things. There we go, browser mode. What do we have here? So what do we have for related videos on this here? Simple Python for beginners, 4 things it takes to be an expert, Veritasium, DW documentary, and TED Talks on this non-signed in browser here. So here is the, so here is there's the result of all that. So we went through this old video, and it now has a proper clickable program guide after all these years. And this is what I want to do on some of the other videos as well. Do a reaction to how things were, kind of talk about the way things are back, kind of like a successor to the old retro reel and stuff along those lines. Sounds like a cool idea, but it just says it all. It says it all. It absolutely says it all that back then I thought that Twitch becoming like YouTube would be a bad thing. So much can change in the better part of a decade, and it absolutely has. Let's see here. What's this? What's this? More stuff coming in for the chat. Also, stuff here. Used to have AT&T had a problem with the connection. Literally, dial-up speeds wouldn't give a crap about it. So let's see. They were expanding into the area, even though there's gig fiber. You have the same problems with Twitch as with live TV, right? It's impossible to catch up, but it's worse because creators usually don't onboard. Basically impossible to know what's going on unless you join directly at the beginning. Well, here's how YouTube works. So streams by default can be set to be unlisted at the end of it, which I have mine set to do that. Usually I'm working on a clickable program guide. The subscribers can watch before it's complete. Then the after the fact audience will get it with a clickable program guide when it's all up and running. When it's all up and running and ready for the long haul. It's also another reason why these things are rarely longer than some radio shows. We're at 2 hours, 22 minutes live time for this. I didn't spend 7 hours playing Apex Legends or something wild like that. And furthermore, it gives people a reason to listen after the fact. You start to get a reputation for doing things a certain way. You start attracting people who understand it and can appreciate it. Kind of like listening to an on-demand archive of a podcast or something. So let's see, 9:01 at the Geekhouse. The Walmart is open until 11. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the regular shopping tonight. The regular shopping for the week is going to be done tonight, and we'll do the laundry and the chores. It's supposed to rain tomorrow. I'm going to do a test stream, a private stream, to see if I get more dropouts when it's raining, and then I may very well just spring for the modem and just be careful not to get it wet walking out of the store. Bring the umbrella. That way I won't be doing the shopping on a night where there's rain coming down. And we'll see if this problem really is weather related or if someone really did fix the problem earlier. So, I got a video to finish up. I have some other things to do around the house, and quite frankly, this internet stuff that's not live stream friendly right now needs to stop eating into my time and stuff, because I'm at the point now I'm dropping down to the lowest tier of service with this ISP until this gets resolved, or until I have the hardware to handle a faster speed. But as it stands right now, we've got a lot of stuff to do. So either way, yeah, so Twitch streamers, the importance of now what? There's a lot of crap going on Twitch, and the two most important words are now what? Because it's better to actually do something about your situation instead of sitting around complaining about it. Yeah, Twitch is a dumpster fire right now, but as a content creator, how much is that going to grind you to a halt? And it's interesting to play what-if games with what if Twitch had been acquired by YouTube back then. Although I would say, and I said this at the beginning, and I'll say it here right now, Twitch wouldn't still exist if YouTube had bought it. They would have done what Facebook did to Facebook Gaming. They would have folded it in to their more general offerings, especially when the focus shifted away from game streaming. This was all before IRL took off. So imagine the IRL controversies of the 2010s with YouTube in charge of Twitch. There's something that we can play some alternate history games with. 903 at the Geekhouse. It looks like we've had a grand total of 177 drop frames for 0.1%. So that's better than 1%, which is what it was before whatever was fixed was fixed. Still not 100% yet. So we'll do some test streams tomorrow to see if this is weather related, whether or not we want to try a new modem or something. But we'll figure it out. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by.